This game is as addictive as League of Legends, but as versatile as PUBG. It has great graphics, it is incredibly fun, and it has a beautiful blend of strategy and skill. Today I'm going to show you 131 tips and tricks for survival heroes. When you first log in, make sure to choose your name before clicking the create character button. A lot of people have been making that mistake. After you create your character, Alice, who has one of the most shrill voices I have ever heard, gives you a general walkthrough, and Alice does a great job. So I'm not going to cover any of the stuff that she covers in her tutorials. But there are 3 things that I'm going to mention about the menu screen before I move on. The first one is that there are 5 different places to complete quests. Quests give you XP boosts, gold, diamonds, rune shards, and a bunch of other things that are important for unlocking things like weapons and runes, which play a big part on how well you do in-game. So I recommend checking all 5 places every time you play. The second thing I want to focus on is the armory. The armory has information about each weapon that is extremely important for you to know if you want to get good at using that weapon. For example, my favorite weapon right now is the fog blade, and by looking it up in the armory, I learned that the top skill does 30% more damage to levitating targets, which can be forced by using the middle skill first. Now, if you already knew that, that may seem pretty obvious, but my point here is that the skills on most of these weapons have combos that can only be discovered by looking them up in the armory. After you research them a little bit, you may want to customize your armor pairings. For example, I have no doubt that the vicious leather helm will be the best item for the fog blade once I hit level 30, and I can use runes to increase my critical chance. But since the game is less than a week old and no one has actually hit level 30 yet, I think the extra attack and the passive skills of the Judgment War helm is a better pairing for the fog blade in my situation. But you obviously need to decide what is best for your playstyle. If you click here, you can see the presets chosen by the 5 players with the best stats for that weapon, which is a really cool touch. I am so impressed with the developers of this game. The last thing you want to do while you're in the armory is choose your item presets. All this does is sets it to where when you pick up an item in game, that item will go into the slot that you have selected for it, which is really helpful for continuity. It will also make it to where when you run out of a certain item, that slot will automatically get replaced with one of these other items that you have selected, assuming of course that you have one of those items in your backpack. The third thing I wanted to focus on in the menu screen is your rune page. If you've played League of Legends, you need no explanation here. Everything is the exact same as it was in League of Legends. Once you get to the max level, which is 30, you will have 9 slots each for attack runes, defense runes, common runes, and 3 slots for glyphs. Runes are a crucial part of having a good strategy in this game. I'll be including rune strategies in my future videos on this game and how to diversify your rune pages or how to maximize split versus focused runes, but that will take me a couple weeks before I can do the research necessary to make those videos high quality. In the meantime, just do a lot of quests and get as many level 5 runes as you can. Okay, now that we've talked about the menu screen, pick a team size and start a game. You will be brought to a waiting area where you can play around with any of the 8 to 10 weapons that are randomly selected. But if you're wanting to play competitively, there are quite a few things you need to do while you're in this area. First, you need to decide which weapon you're going to want to have at the end of the game. You need to keep in mind which weapons you're good at, but also which of these weapons are a strong counter to your weapon. So for example, the scythe is an incredible melee weapon, and I have a feeling that it wins 80% of games at the bronze 5 level, but it is really difficult to use it against someone who is good at the dragon gun. After you've decided, go into your inventory and choose your weapon as the preset. This will pull up all of the stuff that you selected in your armory, and it will make it to where your auto pickup will start picking up items based on those presets rather than the weapon you have at the time. After that, press this button to pick which rune page best fits that weapon or that style of game, and then choose a starting potion. If you do not know which potion to choose, make sure to check out my video that covers the different strategies for starting potions. After all that, click on the map to see the trajectory of the black gold airship and where the shops and renowned chests are placed. Statistically, you are more likely to get into the top 10 if you land away from the airship because player density is highest along the airship's route. You can travel much faster by parachute, so if you want to travel far, you want to open your parachute as early as possible. However, if you're wanting to get to the ground before everyone else, move your parachute forwards and backwards to get to the ground almost twice as fast. Once you hit the ground, searching for items quickly in this game is like maintaining a high creep score in League of Legends. The more efficient you can be at this, the less you will have to worry about running into other players because you will likely have better better gear than them. If you want to get really good at this, I recommend spending your first week landing in the exact same spot every single time you play, even if it's not a good location to land, because by doing this, you will become extremely familiar with that particular area. You will also start to notice building patterns. For example, this little house always has a shelf, a small cabinet, and a pile of junk that you can search, with a few other boxes and chests randomly scattered throughout it. Even though the chances of getting highest tier items from these searches is only slightly better than breaking a barrel, it is still faster than moving to the next house. And searching gives you a lot of experience towards leveling up. So to be the most efficient when you are farming, you want to search all three of those. Memorizing building layouts will help you search everything much faster. I also recommend breaking everything that's near a searchable item before searching it so that you can browse and pick up items while your character is performing the search. In the beginning, you will likely find a lot of lower tier weapons. Here are the stats for those weapons. Personally, I think the flat pot is by far the best of these weapons because the ability to move through walls is a game changer when trying to search quickly or running away from someone that has better gear than you. When you find your final weapon, I would encourage you to go into your backpack and lock it. I promise doing this will end up saving you time, and it might end up saving your life. Besides killing other players, killing little monsters is the best way to get gold, but that takes a long time if you are low level and don't have gear. You can change this by customizing your runes to favor jungling, but we can talk more about jungling in another video. For now, I recommend focusing on just breakables and searchables. In fact, I recommend going into your settings and under the control settings, change your attack mode to free. This will make two buttons show up on either side of your attack button. Clicking on the barrel will prioritize attacking breakables, and clicking on the minion will prioritize jungling. The outskirts of the map are more likely to have mystery chests, which give you one really good item. The goblin shops always have one weapon for only 100 gold, and then a bunch of other items that you can see from the minimap from as early as when you are still in the airship. Unless you are jungling, you will probably not be able to farm enough gold to get more than a couple of these items here. But these shops are particularly awesome for completing a set. Renowned chests are heavily fought over because they are the best source of loot early on. You can't loot them until 10 seconds after the first safe zone appears, but when you can search them 3 times, and then you can search them again 1 time every 2 minutes. Every time you search it, it will give you 3 items, and at least one of those will be a top tier item. So if you have a good team, I strongly recommend setting up a position around one of these chests because it can supply your whole team with gear. When you are switching top tier armor, the old piece stays on you, so make sure to go into your backpack and drop it for your teammates. Using the scout button reveals the champion nearest to you or the person who is scouting you, even if they are no longer the nearest champion to you. In a solo game, you can scout every 2 minutes, a duo game is every 3 minutes, and a team game is every 4 minutes. This encourages you to coordinate with your teammates so that you don't all use your scouts at the same time. You can avoid getting scouted by staying crouched in a bush, or you can use an invisibility potion to cancel its effect. 6 minutes and 15 seconds into the game, 3 dragons will appear. They drop really good loot, which you can see from your minimap, but make sure to ward the area well before doing it because you can make yourself easy prey to someone who is watching. Then at 9 minutes, the first round of supply drops will appear. Supply drops give 5 really good items, and they are the only place to get a mortar. When you place a mortar on the ground, it will protect that area while slowly upgrading to level 2 and then eventually level 3. Shortly after the 3rd safe zone appears, the divine equipment store will show up in the exact center of it, which has twice as much items as a normal store. And then at 13 minutes and 20 seconds, more supply drops will appear. Even though the game gives you advanced warning, memorizing this chart will give you a competitive advantage as you make decisions throughout the game. The 6th zone shrinks slower than the other zones, but eventually shrinks until there is nothing left. Unlike League of Legends, you don't get super fed by killing tons of people. Now, you do if they have great items, but you get very little experience for killing real players. Unlike PUBG, you can't kill someone just because you are more skilled than them. If you are naked and they are maxed out, you couldn't kill them even if they wanted you to. So a huge part of the strategy of this game is learning how to avoid encounters that you would lose so that you can last long enough to get the gear needed to win against the same opponent later on. Your skills gain significant damage and cooldown bonuses when you hit levels 4, 7, and 10, so do not engage with someone that seems to have the same quality gear as you if they have higher level skills. But gear is a much bigger deal than level, and it can be very hard to immediately judge the quality of their gear as you run into each other. A quick indicator might be how much health they have. Each bar represents 200 hit points and each longer bar represents 1,000. So that's a quick gauge, but it still isn't that great because some of the best armor gives no health at all. So the first thing you need to do is develop an internal clock of how good you are doing at finding good gear. If you've been farming for 5 minutes and and only have one high tier item, do everything you can to avoid getting in a fight, like using the crouch button so that people can't see your footsteps, or choosing a weapon with a lot of mobility. Having the ability to dash through walls makes you really difficult to chase. Having flash potions in your quick slot have a lesser but similar effect. Speed potions are decent as well, but the best item is the invisibility potion. If someone, or in this case a team, is chasing you, pop the invisibility potion and then immediately run the opposite direction. The team might stop, but they are usually still convinced that you continued in your current direction. You also want to get really good at placing wards, or what they are calling scouts. Scouts do become invisible after 1 second, but it is still best to place them in bushes so that they are harder to detect. Having this extra vision lets you analyze a person's gear before engaging with them in battle. Even if you are finding good gear quickly, you still probably shouldn't go around looking for people to kill, because if you waste too much time running around and don't find people, or the people you do find don't have good gear, then you will get behind. The same thing goes for chasing people that you almost killed. If you spend too much time chasing someone, it could get you in trouble later. This is especially true in team games. It is almost impossible for a team to stay together when they are chasing down kills after a team fight, which makes them vulnerable if they run into another team during that process. Even if a player has really good items that you want, it's more important to stay close enough that you can support each other. And you should have no trouble getting maxed out gear by the end of a team game, so don't worry about getting that guy's gear. I do suggest securing at least one kill, which should be easy to do while staying together, but as long as you kill one player, that team will probably never recover enough to pose a threat to your team at the end. Towards the end of the game, you can use the activity log to see what weapon you need to be most worried about. This is where knowing which weapon counters other weapons is extremely important, because it allows you to change your weapon strategy in the middle of the game so that you can have an easier time taking out the person that you should be most worried about. After I'm level 30 and I've done the necessary research so that I can make videos with really high quality, I will start making a video for each weapon in the game. Those videos will cover different gameplay styles for using that weapon, best armor pairings, rune pages, which weapon it is good against, and which weapons are good against it. So if you're interested in those type of videos, I would be honored if you'd consider subscribing to this channel. In addition to those 122 tips and tricks, I have 9 more for you. The healing scroll is a group heal, and it gives a small speed boost. Fixed penetration makes a huge difference when trying to kill damage dealers who have low armor, but it is almost worthless against tanks. Percent penetration, or damage based on percent of health, is amazing for killing tanks, but it won't help that much against damage dealers, especially if they have gear with high siphon percentages. If 2 players from the same team pick up the same weapon, they will both get a 10% damage reduction debuff. It is definitely worth it at times to use your potions to go buy something or kill a dragon outside of the magic barrier, but remember that there is a big delay on when potions start healing, so don't wait too long. If a player that you are fighting runs outside the magic barrier, just farm and heal while kiting them, because they almost always have to come back very close to where they left. After you get outsmarted by someone, spectate their game for a while. These tips and tricks videos are great, but there are things you can learn from watching real-time gameplay that you will never be able to learn from tips and tricks videos. They have not set up spectating friends and top players yet, but I imagine that will be coming very soon. In the meantime, I stream on Twitch. I'm not amazing at the game yet, but I do plan on getting there. This YouTube channel is only about a year old, so I missed out on a lot of the other esport opportunities, and this game is so fun and addictive that I think it will have no trouble becoming a huge esport in the future. In fact, it got over 1 million downloads within the first 11 days of being released, and that is with it not even being available in the United States. Now that it's released to the United States, I think it's just gonna explode. Well, that's it guys. Since this is a new game, be sure to tell your friends about it, especially if you have friends that play League of Legends. I told some of my Diamond and Challenger friends about this game, and they are all super addicted to it now. And the best part is that this game has no elo hell. Even if your team trolls, if you are good at the game, you can still make it into the top 10 and gain points. And I think PUBG people will like it as well. Building rune pages and coming up with countering strategies may be a little bit more intense than they're used to, but the basic battle royale style is really well done, and it's different enough that it feels like a completely new game. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.